How's it going, everybody? I wasn't planning on a second upload this week, but there's been a couple news stories in the past week, including a big news story that I just woke up to this morning that I want to put my 2 cents in on. This one's going to be a little more rant-like than my usual videos, so I'm just going to throw some gameplay up on the screen for you guys. To set the stage, I want to talk about one of my favorite experiences growing up. As soon as I'd get in the car after I got a new game, I'd break the game out of the plastic and take in the box art. Then I'd open up the box to get a good look at the disc art and read the manual until we rounded the corner home and I could play the game. Unfortunately, in the world of Sony, that world will soon no longer exist. Sony announced that as of January 2028, physical discs will not be produced for PlayStation consoles. This comes off the heels of Rockstar announcing about a week ago that GTA 6 will be shipping physically without a disc. I really hate to sound like a doomsayer here, but this feels like a massive step towards the death of physical games. Bear in mind that I'm going to be using Sony as the example throughout this video only because they're the first to really step forward on this issue. But bear in mind that this is an industry that listens to and responds to trends. I want to lead off with my most pressing issue about this news: ownership. There was a time where if you owned the disc, you owned the game. Now, in a world of DRMs and digital marketplaces, the rules are a little more muddled. Even a couple months ago, Sony was stirring up concern with potential 30-day license checks using online. Even with the clarification, it's hard not to be concerned with the potential that they may shift once again to require always online in order to access your games. We're now at a point in time where games can be pulled down from a digital marketplace in a moment's notice. The most famous example I can think of is PT getting pulled off of the PlayStation Store after the fallout between Konami and Hideo Kojima. Unless you downloaded the demo and haven't deleted it, you can still access the game. Likewise, with companies remaking or re-releasing certain games for newer consoles, there's also the potential that there's content that gets left behind in the newer release. Take the release of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 for example. Going beyond just soundtrack changes, they changed up the way that Pro Skater 4 was fundamentally played. Because I own the original disc, I could just boot up the game and play it as it was originally intended to be played. Now with this move, Sony is placed firmly in control of the market of the games on their console. This means Sony sets the prices, and Sony determines when games go on sale and for how much. Now say what you will about GameStop, whether you love them or hate them, you're able to at least get a cheaper deal on a game you want if you buy used. And if you buy used, you're at least able to return the game within 7 days if you decide that you're not a fan of the game. Meanwhile, according to Sony's policies, as soon as you've hit download, you've forfeited your right to a refund. The only way Sony will refund you your money is if there's something functionally wrong with the game that prevents it from running. Hell, even Steam gives you 2 hours of playtime to decide if you want a refund or not before it becomes non-refundable. By doing damage to the second-hand market, Sony is putting the cost of games onto the player. And whether or not a game is brand new, or has been out for a few years, Sony gets to decide how much you get to pay for it. Now, I didn't want to make it this far into the video without acknowledging the other side of the aisle and looking at some of the counter-arguments to this case. For starters, disk drives are historically prone to failure over time. It's a fact I never see really brought up in this argument, but those lasers are prone to weaken over time after years of use. And it's no easy feat to replace them either. Of course, there's also the often touted convenience factor. With games being so readily available to download, there's no need to go out and get yourself a copy. And with newer games, there's been a trend of preloading the game if you pre-order so you can play it right at midnight on day one. While it comes down to personal preference, I still prefer to get my games physically. There's something about looking at my collection on a shelf rather than seeing it on my dashboard that brings me more joy. And finally, there is the potential of prices going down. With companies no longer having to print and write discs, produce cases and box art, and keep up with shipping and stocking units, ideally prices should go down for these games. However, considering Grand Theft Auto 6 is still going to retail for $80 to $100 depending on the edition, I have a bridge to sell you if you really think that prices are going to go down. My ultimate takeaway from this whole situation is that if digital is truly the future that we're looking at, there's no real reason to stick around with PlayStation, or other consoles for that matter. If digital is truly the future of gaming and we're done with physical games, then I plan to move into the next generation with my PC. With the past 12 or so years of consoles, it seems like gaming on console is as good as it's ever gonna get. Especially with the continuing increase of console price, it seems more worthwhile to take that money and invest it into a PC that you can upgrade over time. And even in the case of marketplaces to buy games on PC, you have a lot more freedom. There's of course the aforementioned Steam, the Epic Game Store, even platforms that are more focused on indie creators like itch.io and GameJolt. So unless the 10th generation of gaming produces a must-have console exclusive, you can catch me doing all my gaming on PC. But what do you guys think? Do you see this as bad news for the industry? Are you long over owning physical games? Are you even planning on getting a PS6? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this video. All the support that's come through the first month of this channel has been excellent, and I cannot thank you enough. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next one.